The British royal family is no stranger to tradition, especially when it comes to major holidays like Easter. For years, the public has looked forward to the traditional Easter Sunday walk to St. George's Chapel at Windsor Castle. It is an event defined by formal coats, polished shoes, and polite waves to the gathered crowds. However, this past Easter, the script was flipped entirely. While the world expected to see the usual solemn faces, all eyes were drawn to the youngest member of the Wales family, Prince Louis, who has famously built a reputation as the cheeky, uncontrollable chaos monster of the monarchy, stepped out of the car looking like a completely different child. The transformation was so profound that royal commentators and fans alike were left stunned, asking the same question: has the mischief finally ended? For those who have followed the royals for the last few years, Prince Louis has been the primary source of comic relief in a house often defined by stoic protocol. From pulling faces during the Platinum Jubilee pageant to covering his ears during the flypast at Trooping the Color, Louis has been unapologetically himself. He was the toddler who stuck his tongue out at his mother, the little boy who yawned dramatically during a historic carriage procession, and the sibling who always seemed to be wiggling out of Princess Charlotte's famed grasp. He was relatable precisely because he looked like he would rather be anywhere else. But this Easter, something shifted in the air. As the Wales family emerged into the spring sunshine, Louis walked beside his older brother George with a posture that suggested he had aged 5 years in the span of a single winter. Observers noted the physical changes first, which were undeniable. Prince Louis appeared to have hit a significant growth spurt. His slight, toddler frame has filled out into the lean build of a schoolboy. His hair, once a messy mop of brown, was neatly combed and stayed in place without a single strand rebelling. But the real shock was his wardrobe. While Louis has historically favored shorts, a traditional aristocratic habit for young boys, this Easter saw him in a perfectly tailored long suit, complete with a tie that was actually straight. He looked less like a little brother tagging along, and more like a young gentleman ready to take his place in the world. It was a visual cue that the baby of the family is officially growing up. Yet, it was not just the clothes that caused the gasps. It was the behavior. Throughout the walk to the chapel, Prince Louis exhibited a level of calm rarely associated with his name. At one point, a loud horse from the household cavalry shifted unexpectedly near the path. In previous years, this would have resulted in Louis jumping, covering his ears, or making a loud exclamation. This year, he barely flinched. He glanced at the horse, looked up at his father, Prince William, and simply offered a small, knowing smile. He did not run ahead. He did not try to hold his sister's hand to annoy her. Instead, he kept a steady pace directly between his parents, matching their rhythm perfectly. The most viral moment of the day, however, occurred inside the chapel. While the congregation sang the traditional Easter hymns, a camera station near the royal pew captured Louis reading the sheet music and the words on the page. He was not just sitting there. He was following along with his finger, mouthing the words correctly. Later, when the Dean of Windsor gave a lengthy sermon about patience and renewal, Louis sat with his hands folded in his lap. He did not fidget. He did not kick the chair in front of him. He simply listened. When the service concluded and the family exited, the moment of truth arrived. The crowds outside began shouting for the children. Prince George gave his standard stoic wave. Princess Charlotte offered her confident, practiced smile. But Louis, he gave a single, crisp, almost military nod to the press and the public. It was polite, formal, and completely devoid of his usual theatrical jazz hands. Royal insiders are already whispering that this transformation is not an accident, but a deliberate strategy from the Prince and Princess of Wales. Sources close to the family have hinted that over the Easter holidays, Catherine sat Louis down for a big boy talk. As Louis approaches the age where he will attend more public engagements, the rules of engagement have changed. He is no longer viewed by his parents as a toddler who can get away with mischief, but as a working member of the fam in training. One insider noted that the Prince Louis chaos era was a luxury of infancy. Now that he is in full-time school and understanding complex emotions, his parents are focusing on emotional regulation. The result of this coaching was visible for the world to see on Easter Sunday. However, the question remains, is this transformation permanent, or is Louis simply capable of turning it on and off for the cameras? Those who watched closely might have caught the one brief moment where the old Louis flickered back into existence. As the family walked back to the castle, a small puddle of rainwater remained on the cobblestone path. Prince Louis looked at the puddle. He looked at his mother. For a split second, a glint of mischief appeared in his eye, the famous glint that has spawned 1,000 memes. The world held its breath, waiting for the splash. But then, something remarkable happened. Louis looked down at his new leather shoes, which were clearly brand new for the holiday, and chose to step around the puddle. He made a conscious choice to keep his uniform clean. This decision did not go unnoticed by Princess Charlotte, who was walking directly behind him. Charlotte, who has often been the enforcer keeping Louis in line, raised her eyebrows in genuine shock. She even leaned over to whisper something to Kate, and both mother and daughter shared a look of disbelief. If the enforcer is surprised by the behavior of the mischievous one, you know a true change has occurred. It suggests that this new demeanor is not just for show. It is an internal shift. Perhaps Louis has decided that he enjoys the responsibility. Perhaps he saw a video of himself online and decided he wanted to be taken seriously. Or perhaps, as many parents suspect, he is simply saving up all that suppressed energy for a later, much larger explosion. Social media exploded with theories regarding the Easter miracle. One popular theory suggests that Louis has entered the latency stage of childhood, where children naturally become more focused on rules and social order. Another theory, slightly more humorous, suggests that Louis made a secret deal with his grandfather, King Charles III. The deal, as fans speculate, might be that if Louis behaves perfectly during the religious service, the king will allow him to drive a small tractor around Sandringham later in the summer. Given Louis's known obsession with vehicles and farming equipment, this is a surprisingly plausible theory. Despite the stunned reactions, child psychologists have weighed in on the transformation, noting that it is developmentally normal. Dr. Eleanor Grant, a child development expert, speaking generally about royal children, notes that age 6 to 7 is a common turning point for high-energy children. We call it the rule of reason, Dr. Grant explains. Around this age, the prefrontal cortex develops enough for children to understand delayed gratification. Louis isn't losing his personality. He is learning how to code switch. He knows the chapel requires one behavior, and the palace gardens require another. This Easter transformation likely means he is finally connecting his actions to the consequences for his family. The reaction from the other royals was perhaps the most telling. Prince William, who often looks stressed during public outings with all three children, was seen laughing genuinely as they entered the private residence. He placed a hand on Louis's shoulder and gave it a firm, proud squeeze. It was the gesture of a father who had just watched his son win a difficult battle. Even the usually reserved King Charles was spotted glancing back at his youngest grandson with a nod of approval. It seems that the stunning nature of the transformation is not just about the lack of mischief, but about the sudden emergence of a young man who understands the weight of the crown he will one day support. Yet, for all the praise, there is a small part of the public that feels a pang of nostalgia. The transformation, while impressive, marks the end of an era. Prince Louis was the last of the little royals who acted like regular kids in public. He was the one who reminded everyone that even those living in palaces have tantrums and get bored during long sermons. His new composure, while beautiful to watch, closes the chapter on the innocent chaos that made the monarchy feel human. We have watched him grow from a waving infant in Kate's arms, to a cheeky toddler on the balcony, and now, to a composed schoolboy walking with purpose. In the end, the title "No More Mischief" remains a question, not a statement. The true test will not be a formal Easter service, but a less formal event, like a polo match or a royal wedding reception, where the rules are looser and the candy is flowing. For now, Prince Louis has stunned the world by proving he has range. He can be the jester, but he can also be the gentleman. As the Wales family drove away from Windsor, the sun caught the window of the car. If you looked closely, you could see Louis unbuckling his seatbelt to turn around and look at the castle. His tie was loosened, and his hair was falling back into his eyes. The suit was off. The boy was back. The mischief isn't gone. It is simply waiting for the right moment to return.